You do everything right. You're the one who fills the bowl every morning. You're the one who books the vet appointments. You're the one who remembers the heartworm medication. And yet, your dog walks past you and goes straight to them. If you've ever felt that sting, that quiet, almost embarrassing, feeling of being passed over by the animal you love most, this video is for you. Because here's what most people don't realize. Your dog isn't being ungrateful. Your dog isn't confused. Your dog is responding to something real, something biological, something most owners never even think about. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what it is and what you can do about it. Chapter 1. The question that changed everything. For a long time, we assumed we knew how dogs chose their people. Whoever fed them, whoever played with them the most, whoever gave the most treats. It made sense. Dogs are animals. Animals respond to reward. But about 15 years ago, researchers started noticing something that didn't fit that model. Dogs were consistently choosing people who weren't their primary caregivers. Dogs in multi-person households kept gravitating toward the same individual regardless of who held the food bowl. And when scientists started asking why, what they found completely rewired how we understand the human-dog bond. Here's what's actually happening. Your dog isn't choosing who does the most for them. Your dog is choosing who makes them feel the safest. Think about that for a second. Not the most generous, not the most active, the safest. And the science behind that word safe goes deeper than most people ever imagine. Chapter 2. Why it hurts. When your dog picks someone else. Before we get into the science, let's stay with that feeling for just a moment. Because the pain of being passed over by your dog, that's not vanity. That's not being oversensitive. That feeling is your nervous system telling you that your bond with this animal actually matters to you. And that matters. Have you ever noticed how differently it lands? When a stranger's dog ignores you versus when your own dog chooses the couch on the other side of the room. It's different because the relationship is different. What makes this even more meaningful is that your dog feels this too on their end. The bond isn't one-directional, it's a loop. And here's where it gets even more powerful. That loop has a name in behavioral science, and researchers have spent years measuring exactly how it works. And hey, if this makes sense to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more dog lovers who actually want to understand what their dog is really saying. Chapter 3. The secure base effect. In 2013, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna, a study that would become one of the most cited pieces of work in modern dog cognition. They called it the secure base effect. Here's how it worked. Dogs were placed in a room with a puzzle, a task designed to be just slightly beyond easy, something that required effort, something that created mild stress. In some trials, the dog's owner was present. In others, a stranger sat in the same spot. In others, the room was empty. What the researchers were watching for wasn't whether the dog solved the puzzle. They were watching how the dog used the human in the room. Here's what's actually happening in that glance back. Dogs with their owners present attempted the task significantly more. They were more persistent, more willing to try again after failing. Dogs with strangers present behaved more like dogs who were alone. The owner wasn't doing anything. They weren't encouraging. They weren't rewarding. They were just there. And that just being there, calmly, was enough to change how the dog's entire nervous system approached a challenge. This is where most owners get it wrong. We think our presence means being active, giving commands, offering treats, staying engaged. But what your dog's nervous system is actually asking for is something quieter. It's asking, are you a stable place I can return to? Not a vending machine, a base. The owners whose dogs chose them consistently across every metric in this study weren't the most enthusiastic. They were the most regulated. Chapter 4. The Oxytocin Loop. Now, here's where it gets biological. In 2015, a team of researchers led by Takefumi Kikusui at Azabu University in Japan, a study was published that stunned the scientific community. They measured oxytocin levels, the hormone most associated with bonding, trust, and attachment in both dogs and their owners after periods of Mutual eye contact. You think eye contact with your dog is just a look. But actually, what's happening in that moment is a hormonal feedback loop that scientists had previously only documented between human mothers and their newborn infants. When a dog and their owner held eye contact, both showed significant increases in oxytocin. Not just the human, not just the dog, both. And then this is the part that matters. The dogs with higher oxytocin were the ones who initiated more eye contact in the next interaction. This raised their owner's oxytocin again, which made the owner warmer, more present, calmer. This made the dog seek more eye contact. A loop. What makes this even more meaningful is what Kikusui's team found that when they introduced wolves raised by humans into the same protocol. Wolves, even wolves socialized from birth, did not show the same eye contact initiation, did not trigger the same oxytocin response. This isn't a trained behavior. This isn't something dogs learned because it got them treats. This is an evolutionary adaptation. Dogs develop the neurological capacity to bond, with human eyes specifically. Over thousands of years of living alongside us, dogs were selected for this. The ones who could read our faces, hold our gaze, and trigger our attachment system. Those were the ones we kept close. Your dog looking into your eyes isn't dependence. It's one of the most sophisticated social behaviors observed in any non-human species. Chapter 5. Inside the dog's brain. Around the same time, a neuroscientist at Emory University named Gregory Berns was asking a question that had never been seriously attempted before. What does a dog actually feel when it interacts with people? Not what it does. What does it feel like? To answer that, he did something no one had done before. He trained dogs to lie perfectly still inside an MRI machine, while fully awake, so he could measure their brain activity in real time. What Berns found in the caudate nucleus, the brain's reward and anticipation center, changed the conversation entirely. In the maze test portion of his research, dogs were offered a choice between two paths. One led to food, one led to verbal praise from their owner. You think the food wins. Here's what's actually happening. For the majority of dogs tested, the praise path activated the caudate nucleus, as strongly as food, and in many dogs, more strongly. Not because praise was trained as a reward, because the owner's voice, presence, and attention had become neurologically meaningful. The dog's brain had encoded the owner as a source of something more powerful than food. Safety, belonging, predictability. This is where most owners get it wrong. We spend so much energy on what we give our dogs, the food, the toys, the walks, the treats, and so little energy on how we make them feel when nothing is being given at all. Chapter 6. The Reframe. So let's go back to the beginning. Person A does everything right. Feeds, walks, schedules, pays. Person B forgets to buy the kibble half the time, and the dog chooses person B. Here's what most people don't realize. When they see that scene, person B isn't better. Person B isn't luckier. Person B has probably, without knowing it, built a different kind of presence. Maybe they're calmer when they come home. Maybe they sit on the floor instead of the couch. Maybe they let the dog approach instead of reaching out first. Maybe they hold eye contact a few seconds longer. None of those things cost anything. None of them requires more time or more money. But to the dog's nervous system, to the caudate nucleus, to the oxytocin loop, to the secure base calculation running constantly in the background, those things are everything. So the next time you wonder why your dog doesn't choose you the way you expected, don't ask what you can give them more of. Ask how you feel when you're near them. Because that, more than any treat, any walk, any gift, this is what your dog has been measuring all along. Chapter 7. Empathetic close. If you watched this video and felt validated, if your dog does choose you, look for you, settles near you even when you're not offering anything, now you know why. That's not luck. That's not personality. That's thousands of hours of you simply being a safe and steady place for an animal who needed one. And if you watch this video from the other side, if you're the one doing everything right and still wondering why it doesn't seem to land, this isn't a verdict on you. This is an invitation. Your dog isn't keeping score of everything you've given them. They're keeping a feeling, And feelings can change. Not with more effort, not with more treats, with less and different. Sit closer to the floor. Breathe a little slower when they come near. Let them find you, instead of always going to them. Give your nervous system permission to be calm, and watch what your dog's nervous system does in response. The bond your dog is capable of, the kind measured in brain scans and hormone levels, and 15 years of research. It was never about what you could give them. It was always about who you are when you're near them, and now you know. Now, before you go, if you learned something real about your dog today, hit like and subscribe. That's how we get these videos to more dog owners who want to love their dogs the right way. We'll see you in the next one.